All right, so you want to dive into Esme Cullen, huh?
Yeah, I think she's a really fascinating character.
She's way more than just the vampire mom,
All
right?
right.
I mean, there's got to be more to her than meets the eye.
Absolutely. There's a lot of depth there.
And I think that's what we're going to try to unpack today, really try to understand what makes her tick.
Yeah, I'm game.
I mean, it's not every day you get to delve into the psyche of a compassionate vampire.
That's for sure. It's a unique character for sure.
But with Esme, we actually get something kind of rare in vampire stories.
Yeah.
Her human backstory.
That's true. We get to see where she came from.
It's not like she was born into this world or even, like, sought it out. She starts as Esme Ann Platt, totally normal life, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that makes her really relatable.
Definitely. So then the question becomes, how much does that human past, that foundation, how much does that impact her vampire present?
Right, because it's not like she just becomes a blank slate when she's turned.
Exactly. And that's what I find so interesting. The typical vampire story, it's all about the power, the immortality, the escape from humanity. But Esme, she doesn't choose this. It's thrust upon her.
It's almost like she becomes a lens for exploring the human side of immortality.
That's a really good way to put it. Because her human life, it's marked by tragedy, the loss of a child.
Right, and that desperation that leads to her transformation is heavy stuff.
It really is, and it would be so easy to gloss over that part, to just focus on her finding love with Carlisle and creating this vampire family.
But that sadness, that weight of her past, it's always there. It hangs over everything.
It's like the price of her immortality. So do you think that's why she throws herself into caring for the Cullens? It's like she's trying to create the family she never got to have, but there's always this undercurrent of melancholy there.
Yeah, there's a definite bittersweet element to it. Like she's trying to outrun her past, but it's always there.
Always lurking.
Exactly.
And that's what I think makes her more than just a vampire mom. It's not just about baking cookies and attending school events. It's about rebuilding something that was lost and that depth of feeling. It resonates with every member of that family.
It's the foundation of the entire Cullen family dynamic.
And that's where her power comes in, don't you think?
Absolutely, she's a powerful character.
Because when we think about vampires, it's usually all about brute strength, right?
Right, the traditional power dynamics.
But Esme, she kind of flips the script. It's like emotional intelligence, IS, her superpower.
It's a different kind of strength.
It really is. So what do you think makes that so rare in their world? I mean, why is empathy such an anomaly for vampires?
Well, I think when you have that kind of immortality, it's easy to lose sight of your humanity.
You get disconnected.
Exactly. You become fixated on survival, on power. Those things become all-consuming.
And those connections, those human connections, they just fall away.
They do.
Yeah.
But Esme, she holds on to that empathy, that compassion. It's like she's actively fighting against the tide,
Fighting against her own nature,
Oh.
in a way.
And reminding everyone, including yourself, what it means to be human, even when you're not.
And it's not just her past, right? There's all this other stuff about her, these subtle strengths that I feel like don't always get enough attention.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many layers to her character.
Like those unseen details they talk about. Take her relationship with Carlisle, for instance.
It's a fascinating dynamic, for sure.
It's easy to see it as this fairy tale romance, right? The handsome doctor and his eternally youthful bride. But it goes so much deeper than that.
But way deeper. I mean, you see it in the way they interact. They have this deep respect for each other.
And this shared moral compass, which is kind of unheard of in the vampire world, let's be honest.
It really is. They have this understanding, this bond that goes beyond the physical.
It makes you wonder, if their relationship is something that evolved because of their immortality, like a way to combat the loneliness that comes with being a vampire.
It's possible. I mean, they have this shared experience that binds them together.
And because they have such a strong foundation, this unshakable bond, it gives Esme the space to focus on the rest of the family. But that doesn't mean she's passive, right?
No, not at all. She's a fighter when she needs to be.
Like when the Volturi show up, I mean, talk about a high-stakes situation. And Esme, she doesn't even hesitate. She's ready to fight for her family.
She's fiercely protective of them. That's what's so interesting about her.
She's not this untouchable, ethereal being, She's got this core of steel under all that warmth.
Definitely. She's experienced the worst of humanity, and it's only made her stronger.
And that strength, it shows up in different ways with all the Cullens. Like, think about Rosalie.
She's a tough one, for sure.
Rosalie's still so fixated on human life, on beauty,
Right.
You'd think she and Esme would be at odds.
You would, but they're not.
Because Esme, she never tries to force Rosalie to change or to get over her past.
She meets her where she is.
Exactly. She offers understanding, a safe space to grieve. That's a power in itself, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The power of simply being present, of listening without judgment, it's huge. It really is, isn't it? That kind of quiet strength can be the most powerful kind.
Totally. And with Esme, it all comes back to that empathy, that compassion, even when she's surrounded by tragedy. It's almost like she took all that pain, all that loss, and turned it into this, like, wellspring of love and acceptance.
And that's what makes her such a departure from the traditional vampire.
Exactly. I mean, we're conditioned to see vampires as these selfish, often monstrous beings, right?
Right. Consumed by darkness.
Yeah, but Esme, she throws all his expectations out the window.
She shows us there's another side to immortality.
One where love and compassion aren't weaknesses.
They're her strength.
It's honestly kind of a radical idea, especially in the vampire world.
It is. Because she's not out there, ruling with an iron fist.
Or dazzling everyone with her supernatural powers.
She's quiet, but she's subverting those expectations. She's showing everyone that true power. Well, sometimes it comes from lifting others up.
Creating space for healing and connection.
And that's huge, especially in a world that's so obsessed with power struggles and hierarchy.
It makes you wonder, though. What if more vampires embraced that kind of empathy? Would their whole world change?
I think it would definitely shake things up.
It's like she's this blueprint, for a different way of being a vampire, one that's about more than just survival and power.
It's about thriving.
And I think that's why she resonates so strongly with people, even if they don't usually go for vampire stories.
It's because her struggles are universal.
Underneath the immortality and the supernatural stuff, she's dealing with things we all experience. Loss, the longing for family, the search for meaning.
Exactly. She's a reminder that you don't need fangs and super speed to be a force to be reckoned with.
Sometimes it's the quiet ones, right?
Absolutely.
Those quiet souls, they can have the biggest impact. So, after spending all this time with Esme, I have to ask, what kind of power will you choose to embrace in your own life? That's something to think about, right?
It is. Food for thought.